The story of the SS Ourang Medan can be described as one of the weirdest, spookiest, and most mysterious story ever told in the maritime history. Apparently, a ghost ship, its transient appearance in 1947 only to disappear under circumstances that are both confusing and tragic, has kept researchers, historians, and conspiracy theorists speculating about its mysterious demise well into decades. The story weaves together nautical terror, human mystery, and unexplainable phenomena, capturing imaginations through over 7 decades. Still walking the tightrope between myth and reality, this story is one of the most enduring, haunting riddles, owing in great part to the unique combination of horror, maritime history, and the deeply unsettling idea of something beyond our comprehension at play. The telling of this story dives deep into the abyss of one of the most bizarre maritime mysteries ever recorded, the SS Ourang Medan, the first distress call. The story of the SS Ourang Medan supposedly occurred in June 1947. Many ships around the Straits of Malacca, one of the most congested shipping lanes in the world between Malaysia and Sumatra, picked up an eerie distress signal. The message was fragmentary and filled with crackling static, but what came through was clear enough to raise alarm. It came through in Morse code. SOS from Ourang Medan. We float. All officers, including the captain, are dead, lying in chart room and bridge, possibly whole crew dead. After a few brief moments of silence, it concluded with what would become the notorious final words, "I die." Then, complete silence. The ghostly Mayday call sent waves of worry and bewilderment across the shipping lanes. Among these recipients of this distress call was an American merchant vessel known as the Silver Star. Not wanting to turn its back on the distressed ship, the Silver Star changed course and steamed toward what was believed to be the last known position of the SS Ourang Medan. As would soon be found by the crew aboard the Silver Star, it would be beyond anything they had ever imagined. The ghastly find. It wasn't long before the Silver Star finally reached the coordinates transmitted in the SOS message, and there, sure enough, was the Ourang Medan, drifting aimlessly. To all appearances, the Dutch freighter was intact, without any signs of distress or damage indicative of some terrible accident having taken place. Still, there was something ominous about the ship, a ghostly quietness to the vessel that seemed to suggest a ghost ship that had been forsaken on the high seas. When the crew of the Silver Star boarded the vessel, they were in for a shock beyond all imagination. The entire crew of the SS Ourang Medan was dead. They found the captain in the chart room, while the officers and crew were strewn about various other parts of the ship, with literally nobody alive. What was most terrible was what happened to their bodies. The crew lay with their arms outstretched, eyes wide open, their faces contorted into grotesque expressions of terror and pain. Their corpses seemed to have been frozen into that very moment of their death. There was no evidence of injury, any bloodshed or struggle. The ship's dog, which was found dead on the deck, lay snarling, lips pulled back into the grimace of fear. One of the most perplexing elements of that scene was the temperature on board. While the seas around her were of tropical heat, the boarding party from the Silver Star reported the air on the Ourang Medan to be uncommonly cold. The crew had died, apparently in frozen terror, further adding to the eerie atmosphere of the abandoned vessel. The crew of the Silver Star, after searching through the vessel from top to bottom, couldn't find anything to explain such a disaster. Communications devices were still working, and no signs pointing to sabotage or any other apparent reason for such sudden demise were found. The sudden explosion. Finding neither survivors, nor at least an explanation for such an event, the crew of the Silver Star decided to tow the Ourang Medan back to port for further investigation. Before they can finish such an operation, something even weirder happened. While the crew was preparing to secure the tow line, a tremendous amount of smoke started belching from a portion of the Ourang Medan's lower decks. The whole ship was engulfed in fire instantly. Members of the boarding party had no other option but to desert the vessel, returning back to the Silver Star for safety. Just as suddenly as it started, the Ourang Medan blew up with incredible force. The eruption was reportedly so powerful that it literally blew the Ourang Medan clear of the water. splitting it open and sending it plummeting beneath the waves to take whatever secrets lay aboard with it, down to Davy Jones's locker. The crew of the Silver Star was shocked after the sudden explosion. What had caused the fire, and why did the ship explode with such great force? Both questions remain unanswered to this day. Theories and speculations. With no survivors, no wreckage to examine, and only the chilling testimony of the Silver Star's crew to go by, numerous theories have surfaced over the years relating to the mystery of the SS Ourang Medan. These range from plausible explanations firmly grounded in science to wilder suggestions involving the paranormal and extraterrestrial encounters. The most outstanding theories will now be discussed. 1. Chemical poisoning or gases. One of the most accepted hypotheses is that the SS Ourang Medan was carrying a cargo of hazardous chemicals or gases that could have leaked and poisoned the crew. A more sensational variation of this theory is that the ship was involved in some sort of clandestine operation, perhaps carrying dangerous substances such as potassium cyanide or nitroglycerin, which could account for both the deaths and the subsequent explosion. This would point to the probability of chemical poisoning, since there are no visible injuries amidst those bizarre facial expressions. This might be due to asphyxiation or exposure to toxic fumes. It is here perhaps that the crew has died due to inhaling lethal gases due to an accident or improper handling of the dangerous cargo. Further questions are raised by the theory as to why such materials were carried by the ship, and if so, why there were no official documents on record with what was contained in the ship's manifest. Those people who research this account speculate that Ourang Medan was into illegal smuggling, carrying banned chemicals or weapons from nations at the tail end of World War II. Lack of records and mysterious circumstances after the explosion could have been a cover-up done by concerned authorities. 1. Carbon monoxide poisoning. Another theory that scientific evidence has pointed to is carbon monoxide poisoning due to malfunctioning in the ship's engine or boiler system. Carbon monoxide is colorless and odorless. In large amounts, it is deadly upon inhalation, often causing asphyxiation before the victim realizes what is happening. This could have been because if there had been a leak in the engine room of the ship, the crew could succumb to the gas ahead of raising the alarm. It also illustrates the absence of physical trauma and the expressions of terror on the faces of the dead bodies. It could be that the sudden fire and explosion were the result of the buildup of the flammable gases ignited through a spark in the engine room. This explanation, although quite plausible, does not explain the unnatural cold reportedly present on the ship, or the apparent fear and horror that seems to have possessed the crew. Symptoms associated with carbon monoxide poisoning more often include drowsiness and confusion, rather than outright terror as suggested by the look of terror frozen on the victim's face. 1. Supernatural and paranormal explanations. Given the surreal nature of the deaths and the complete inability to find an assured cause, it is not surprising that some people turn to supernatural or paranormal explanations. In fact, some even reported unnaturally cold air aboard the ship, and postulated that the crew could have fallen victim to malevolent spirits or some other form of supernatural force. Cold spots, sometimes, are associated with hauntings. The Ourang Medan is like a ghost ship, destined to sail the seas with its crew of dead. In this version, the crew might have been killed by some invisible force, perhaps as a result of some sort of malediction or simply because of some sort of encounter with an entity completely beyond human comprehension. Indeed, some people have gone so far as to speculate that the ship was involved in some sort of occult ritual or experiment gone terribly wrong, which unleashed forces that ultimately destroyed the crew and then the ship itself. The theory is highly speculative and lacks hard evidence, but it does appeal to that dark, unknown, deep-seated fear of humans. There is a distinct allure that can be made of a cursed ship or even paranormal events out at sea that simply explains the inexplicable nature of the Ourang Medan incident. 1. Extraterrestrial encounter. Another theory is that the crew members of the Ourang Medan might have crossed paths with extraterrestrial life or UFOs during their journey. The supposed frozen expressions of terror and the sudden fire and explosion can be accounted for by bizarre shipboard conditions at which some have guessed the crew was exposed to alien technology or radiation. This theory postulates that the unexplained deaths, coupled with the subsequent destruction of the ship, might have been caused by an encounter with a UFO. The fire and subsequent explosion could have been from malfunctioning alien technology, or even an attempt at erasing evidence of the encounter. Although there is no concrete evidence regarding extraterrestrial involvement, this theory has especially found favor among UFO enthusiasts and conspiracy theorists, reporting the incident as one covered up by the government to avoid mass hysteria. 1. Government cover-up. A far more conspiratorial variety of hypothesis takes the form of postulating that the SS Ourang Medan was engaged in certain covert government activity, dealing in hazardous or classified materials. Everything from chemical weapons to nuclear material, even post-war munitions being covertly moved through Southeast Asian waters. The theory suggests that such harmful substances could have caused the crew's deaths and explained why there were no visible injuries, but also the apparent terror in the crew. This could then be followed by the explosion that destroyed the ship as a deliberate act of sabotage to cover up the illegal cargo the ship was carrying and any further investigations thereof. Proponents of this theory point to the fact that there are no official records of the SS Ourang Medan in the annals of maritime logs, suggesting that the ship may have been operating under a flag of convenience or as part of some sort of clandestine operation. Adding this to a sudden and mysterious sinking of the vessel, some have gone to the extent of considering that all this was a cover-up by the governments involved, perhaps because they wanted to avoid international scrutiny, or, as some have suggested, to conceal the nature of the cargo transported. This theory also aligns with other incidents of secrecy during the Cold War era and the utilization of ships as ghost vessels for material carriage that was of a sensitive nature. Therefore, amidst the geopolitical tensions during this period, the fact that ships like Ourang Medan were involved in such clandestine operations, and hence no official record was given or acknowledged that implicate nations in unprincipled activities, could not entirely be discarded. Historical context and the elusiveness of the SS Ourang Medan. The first recorded sightings of the SS Ourang Medan date back to the late 1940s, the majority being articles in newspapers and nautical magazines. These first reports all contained the same horrific elements: a distress call, crew frozen in death from fear, and a ship engulfed in fire and then destroyed by an explosion. This account is certainly colourful, and official documentation of the Ourang Medan is frustratingly scant. No formal records have ever been discovered regarding the construction, ownership and crew of the ship, because of which many have come to doubt whether it existed at all. Skeptics have pointed out a number of similarities between the Ourang Medan story and general maritime folklore and ghost ship legends, which indicate that the story can be nothing more than an urban legend, or worse, an out-and-out hoax. Without physical evidence, the wreckage or the place of the sinking, some researchers have even rejected it as a fabricated story, perhaps to entertain or as a cautionary advice from the sea. Yet, the persistence of the story, along with the credibility of some of the sources reporting on it, has kept the mystery alive. Several authors and historians have made attempts at tracing the origins of the Ourang Medan tale with partial success. Some have mused that the ship may well have been real, though the details of the story are either blown out of proportion or distorted over time. Others believe that the vessel might have been sailing under some other name, and the actual name has sunk in the mists of time. Legacy and continuing mystery. The mystery of the SS Ourang Medan has captivated people for years, and it was the source of numerous articles, books and documentaries that aimed to solve it. Time has passed, but the story proved to be just as elusive as before. Because no certain answers turned up, speculations made the number of theories and explanations grow. The internet over the past decade or so has contributed to keeping the story alive through forums and blogs, discussing endlessly the possible causes of the tragedy and debating the merits of the various theories. Whereas recent researchers have advanced theories aimed at debunking the story as inconsistent and unsupported, others have continued to search for new clues that might be able to shed light on the mystery. The more intriguing elements of the Ourang Medan story are the ways in which the entire tale seems to capture imagination from both skeptics and believers alike. Those who like their stories cloaked in mystery have a tantalizing puzzle that seems to defy explanation. Conspiracy theorists find in the Ourang Medan the perfect example of some sort of government cover-up or other supernatural happening that has intentionally been hidden from the public. In most ways, the SS Ourang Medan has become something of a latter-day ghost ship, not only in the literal meaning, but also for the way it haunts our collective imagination. The story does remind us of some of those dangers and mysteries yet large in the world's oceans through our continuous fears and curiosity inspired thereby. Paranormal and supernatural theories. While a number of rational theories have been advanced to explain the end of the SS Ourang Medan, the supernatural element has a certain appeal. In some variants of the tale, the unnatural cold observed on board the vessel is a common point referred to as evidence of some sort of paranormal involvement. Cold spots are common in folklore and paranormal research when it comes to ghostly activity. Was the crew of the Ourang Medan in the grasp of some sort of malevolent supernatural entity? Among the favored explanations of some paranormal believers is that the Ourang Medan sailed into some sort of haunted sector of the ocean, some kind of marine Bermuda Triangle. A suggestion is that the ship had come across ghostly apparitions or something out of this world that compelled the crew to die in sheer terror. The ultimate explosion and sinking of the ship could have been this, whatever malevolent forces that had seized control as a final act. While such theories are impossible to prove, they certainly chime in with centuries of folklore surrounding sea monsters, ghost ships, and sundry paranormal occurrences out at sea. Such tales often function metaphorically for the dangerous and unpredictable nature of the ocean, which can kill people without warning and leave scant evidence of what has occurred. Modern interpretations and investigations. The story of the SS Ourang Medan has found its place under the lenses of numerous investigations by modern-day maritime historians, paranormal researchers, and even conspiracy theorists. While some have peered into ancient records of maritime in search of any trace of the ship, others have looked into declassified documents that might shed light on the incident. In fact, to this day, no real evidence was ever uncovered that proved the existence of the Ourang Medan, let alone the cause of death of its crew. One of the difficulties in researching the case of the Ourang Medan is that there are no survivors who can testify to anything. The only people testifying to anything were those from the Silver Star crew when they boarded and then witnessed its destruction. With no one surviving from the Ourang Medan crew, it would not be possible to know what transpired on this vessel in the hours leading up to the distress call. Recently, some scholars have felt that the story of the Ourang Medan was an allegorical, cautionary tale that took on a life of its own and morphed into an urban legend over time. Complete documentation lacks, and more sensational aspects of the story, the terrified expressions frozen upon the dead crew, and the sudden explosion of the ship, relate credence to this theory that, with time, the story has been elaborated, but there is no concrete proof and hence the truth remains to be known. The eternal mystery at sea. The mystery of the SS Ourang Medan is a constant enigma in maritime tales from times of yore. Whether the ship became the victim of a chemical accident, a cover-up by the government, a supernatural force, or even extraterrestrial intervention, these mysterious incidents will continue to keep readers enigmatic and remain unanswered even for coming generations. The legend of the Ourang Medan is reminiscent of the greatness and unpredictability of the ocean and its secrets yet to be found in its great, silent depths. For every shipwreck ever found and for every mystery solved of the seas, there is a story like that of Ourang Medan to balance these feats with the inability of explanation and leave humankind pondering what really did happen on that voyage. But finally, the SS Ourang Medan is hardly a ghost story. It's about our own fear of the unknown and its strange, inexplicable things. Whether the ship ever existed or not, its tale lives on as one of the most chilling and mysterious of 20th century maritime legends. Thank you for spending time with us through Spookscope today. Feel free to share your knowledge and wisdom in the comment section, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel and share it with your friends and family. Until next time, my dear spooker, stay curious.